I personally believe that there is one single truth about life. Everything changes. No matter how much we hold on to something, success, money, reputation, it will shift, evolve, and eventually disappear. Fighting this reality, it's what creates stress, anxiety, and burnout. But accepting it, that's where real freedom starts. So today I'm gonna do 30 minutes at the elliptical machine, and today I want to use this time to talk about the topic of how to worry less as an entrepreneur. So being an entrepreneur means dealing with uncertainty every single day. Cash flow, clients, competition, there's always something that could go wrong. And when we are caught in that mindset, it feels like the only way to succeed is to keep worrying, to stay alert, to never let our guard down. But what if worrying isn't actually helping us? What if it's making everything worse? By the way, I'm not an accomplished entrepreneur by any means. I'm still working on that. And I can only speak from my limited personal experience. But from what I've seen in myself and others, I suspect that this shift in mindset, so learning to work with clarity instead of anxiety, is a key not just for success, but to a kind of success that is actually sustainable and fulfilling. When we worry, we think we are being responsible. We convince ourselves that stress equals preparation. But in reality, worrying doesn't solve problems. It just drains our energy, clouds our thinking, and makes us react impulsively. Think about it. Have you ever made a great decision when you were in a state of panic? Probably not. Because when the mind is trapped in anxiety, it doesn't see clearly, it doesn't create, it doesn't lead. I personally believe that there is one single truth about life. Everything changes. No matter how much we hold on to something, success, money, reputation, it will shift, evolve, and eventually disappear. Fighting this reality, it's what creates stress, anxiety, and burnout. But accepting it, that's where real freedom starts. Because when we stop resisting uncertainty, we stop wasting energy on things we can't control. And that gives us the clarity to focus on what we can control. But does this mean that we need to give up on our endeavors? Absolutely not. And that applies to business too. The truth is that your company will go through ups and downs. You will gain clients, you will lose clients. Money will flow in, and sometimes it won't. That's not a failure. That's just reality. And if we stop resisting this natural cycle, we stop creating unnecessary suffering for ourselves. So what can we do? How can we, as entrepreneurs, actually stop worrying? The first point is recognizing what's in our control and what isn't. We can control our effort, our strategy, our decisions. We cannot control external factors or other people's choices. We can still adapt to them. But worrying about what's out of our hands, it's just self-inflicted stress. The second point is detaching from the outcome and focusing on the process. If we define success only by external results, we will always feel unstable. Instead, we can focus on how we are working. Are we making clear decisions based on logic and thorough analysis? Are we staying aligned with our values? Are we improving? If yes, then in a way, we are already succeeding. The third aspect is letting go of the need for constant validation. The business world is full of egos. Everyone wants to look successful. But if your self-worth depends on how your business is doing, then you will always be at the mercy of external conditions. Confidence comes from knowing that you are steady, even when circumstances are not. So the question is, what can we do right now to start lowering the amount of unnecessary stress at work? The first thing is to start noticing when our mind is rushing through work-related thoughts. Recognize how often we are following a mind that is anxious, reactive, and rejecting reality. The reality that things are impermanent and we are not in control of everything. When we catch ourselves in that state, we pause. We can take a breathing exercise that brings us clarity. Then we can try to resume what we were doing from a different, more aware and lucid state. And if in the beginning we don't feel like pausing, that's fine. But at the very least, we need to start recognizing what is motivating us in the moment. At first, it will be impossible to do this all the time. So we can start taking the habit of doing it at the beginning of our day, and at the end of it, reflect. How did I go through my day? How did my approach make me feel? Because the worst thing to promote change within ourselves, it's forcing ourselves into a practice we don't even understand why we're doing. The best way, becoming aware of how we feel for the majority of our day and how we feel every single time we are making decisions. From there, we will naturally start developing habits that stick with us. Not because someone else told us to do them or because we told ourselves we need to do them, but because we will see their importance, because we soaked ourselves in being aware of how our baseline feels. And the beautiful thing is, when we manage to calm our mind and adopting a perspective broader than one that is rejecting uncertainty, we gain clarity. We see more options, and our decision making improves, sometimes by a lot. So the final takeaway is that worrying doesn't make us a better entrepreneur. It just makes us a more exhausted one. And if we want to succeed long term, we don't need more stress. We need more clarity. And clarity comes when we stop fighting the natural flow of things, when we stop resisting uncertainty, and when we start leading our businesses with a calm and steady mind. Okay, 30 minutes have elapsed. Now I'll go get changed for the arms workout.